Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Today, we are going to solve a conundrum. I keep mixing up two bands, the White Stripes and Whitesnake. I've even come up with this funny story in my head about how a snake could have many stripes, but a stripe wouldn't likely have many snakes, just to try to remember which band has something plural in their name. But hopefully, this will all be straightened out as I analyze a song from each band for the first time ever, back to back. We're going to start with Whitesnake because I just found out they existed a full 2 decades before the White Stripes. Let's get to it. This graphic does not look that old. I mean, we're talking about, 1980s when this was released. This graphic looks much newer, but it says greatest hits of 2022. So maybe that's probably why it feels newer. But this song is way older than this graphic. Whoa.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday, and I've made up my mind.
Holy cow. His voice is fantastic. It's the way he's funneling energy through this. It feels like a rather narrow space. He's got so much intensity in these first few moments. It's light and it's softer. It's going to get into the meat of the song, I expect, probably pretty soon. But in the quiet beginnings, he has so much intensity still. Also, his hair is so 80s. I feel like this is really going to clear up the distinction between the White Stripes and Whitesnake. Just seeing the hair, I'm sure will do it. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. That's impressive. It looks fun too.
I don't know where I'm going,
The energy drive is so great in that.
but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday, and I've made up my mind.
I'm going to stop and go back one more time. I keep talking about this intensity and the flow and the energy, and I just want to clarify a little more because it's really, really freaking good. It's the way that he keeps his sound and even air going from the moment he starts a phrase till the very, very end. Sometimes I can even hear in the breath between that there's still energy going. A lot of times when people are singing, they'll think about words to words and they won't keep a legato line. They won't keep the phonation happening and they won't direct the air into sound and into focus the whole time. The moment he starts, it's this constant stream. It's like the reverse of a vacuum cleaner. Once he starts, he's going to keep going the whole time. There's not that division that we would often have when speaking. A little more.
But I
A
sure
little more.
where I'm.
There.
I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been.
It's like,
Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday, and I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. Here I go again.
I love the way he sings through his ends.
Here I go again.
Ooh, that was cute.
Here I go again.
Ooh, it's not just cute. Dare I say it's like a little more intense than cute. I'm going for steamy. And I think this isn't just the vocal effect. I think it's this combination of him staring at me straight dead on in the camera with that wild, wild hair, and then the intensity of the air and constant reverse vacuum cleaner, right? Whew. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna go with steamy.
Here I go again.
Yeah, that little break. Woo!
So I keep searching for an answer.
It's like he's almost shivering with the amount of intensity that he's channeling. It's so much more difficult, by the way, to sing quietly well than to sing loud well. When you sing loudly, you naturally have a ton of energy built up. Yes, it can potentially be more draining on the vocal folds because of the breath pressure that's built up underneath, but people often have a lot more struggles learning how to support a quiet note well, because they'll just think, oh, well, I'm going to, reduce all the support. They feel like they can back off when it's the opposite. You have to keep your audience super engaged with quiet. So many singers will think about stepping up the intensity of quiet to make it have some sort of balance to their louds. He's so beautifully intense in this. Right, there's like a little shiver. My goodness.
So I keep searching for an answer. Never seem to find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on. 'Cause I know what it means.
Wow, I gotta say, the dancer on these cars is fabulous. I love the combination. It looks like maybe a leotard underneath, but then with this flowy, transparent material on top. It's just gorgeous in all of these different positions that they've caught her in. It's beautiful. But even more beautiful, in my opinion, is the way that he has this intensity that feels like it's almost bottled up and ready to just break loose in his voice.
So I keep searching for an answer. Never seem to find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to.
So that, this is David Coverdale, lead singer. David Coverdale, Whitesnake, lead singer. No, Whitesnake. Ah! See? So mixed up. Whitesnake, lead singer, David Coverdale. And I remember he's attached to Deep Purple in some way. I think he was singing with Deep Purple before Whitesnake. And he, like, the way he's controlling his dynamics, the loudness, the volume of his voice as he goes up high is super impressive. That's why it feels so bottled up and ready to burst, because I can hear that his voice can go to a much louder, wild level. But here, he's controlling this energy that's just ready to bubble over.
Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on.
Even the way he's shaking there, it's so good. Man, if there is ever a great example of a way to bring massive intensity into an opening like this, it feels very epic, yet he's not blowing his top yet, right? This is a great example. If you're a singer and you're trying to figure out how to sing quietly or open a song without giving it all away, this is the example you should follow.
I keep searching for an answer. Never seem to find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on. 'Cause I know what it means.
So they're shaking with intensity.
The lonely street of dreams.
Ooh, that was a cool transition.
And here I go again on my own.
I've totally heard this before. I don't think I've ever heard that opening. Maybe I have in passing, but I recognize that line. I recognize it. Okay. I'm putting names together here. David Coverdale, Whitesnake. Is he the Whitesnake? Where did that name come from? I don't know. I need to look that up. Whitesnake. Here I go again. I'm getting this, and now I know this like catchy line. Here I go again. Yeah, that's all coming together. I think this is in a movie. Isn't this in a movie somewhere? Let me know in the live premiere chat.
'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on
It's so much fun.
Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. But I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. I'm just
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna go back to this course. This is the first time I've ever really taken a dive into his voice. I have heard this somewhere before, and it's got a really, really catchy melody, but I've never listened to it intensely. And there's so many interesting things that you can pick up when you really just dive in deeper. Okay, I'm gonna go back here.
'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. Here I go again on my own.
So I've noticed a few different times where he'll do this like little tiny break before a word. So here I go again. And he does a little tiny stop and jumps back in. This is actually a way to increase the intensity of the line because he's not taking a breath between it, but it's almost like the same way you would have a big drop in some sort of dubstep. We see that in all kinds of a cappella music as well, and music in general. There are many times when we'll have a quick clearing of the ears to come back in and increase excitement about the sound. He does this vocally in a really cool way.
Here I go again.
Right there. That's so interesting. Like, he doesn't need to take a breath there, obviously, or he would have taken a breath. It's truly a deliberate moment, tiny moment of silence.
Dreams. Here I go again on my own. Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. But I've made up my mind.
It's so interesting to me how sometimes he has more air and a little more roughness in the sound. And then there are other times where it sounds a little more clean and has less air and just feels a little bit more juicy in the timbre. We'll put it that way. A little more wet.
But I've made up my mind.
So that's the like juicy, wetter sound, a little cleaner, right? There's less gravel on top, and then right before.
Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone.
So that definitely has a little more of that gravel. There's a little more dryness in the sound overall. Okay, I'll keep going.
But I've made up my mind.
Wow. You're Lex.
No more time. I'm just another heart in need of rescue.
And that sound of that like more dry gravel versus wet, clean kind of sound, we definitely are not hearing that attached to a particular set of pitches or register. That is just a timbral difference that he's able to control and hear. Very, very cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
I'm just another heart in need of rescue. Waiting on love's sweet charity. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days. 'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams.
I love how glamorous it looks for her to be hanging out the car window like this. I wonder, I bet you that this is not actually shot while driving, but there must be a fan, because if they were driving, there'd be so many bugs that'd be hitting her face right now. It's just, I think it would be super not glamorous in actuality. Let's go back a little bit more because I was distracted by how many bugs may or may not have been hitting her.
Another heart in need of rescue. Waiting on
So
love's
beautiful.
sweet charity. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days. 'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams.
I like the way that this doesn't feel crazy rangy. Like, it's not going over a huge variety of pitches, or it's not going way high or way low, but in the verse, he gives us so much style. There are moments when he'll reattack a note or put like just a couple extra runs in there. I love the way he's eating up his words as well. And again, the way he shifts timbres just very, very slightly. It's got a lot of details, but it's not overwhelmed with details at the same time. I get a lot of the story through it. Let's go back again.
Charity. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk along.
There's a way that he's delivering the intensity of the sound. I keep talking about it. I keep coming back to it because it's really impressive. It reminds me so much of an opera singer. And that's because it sounds like he's hooking into his support to deliver these lines. A lot of singers will talk about being hooked in to their support. And I think that singers feel this in many, many different ways. And honestly, sometimes certain ways are more beneficial to different genres or different styles of singing. But the overall sensation of hooking in is that you feel some sort of actual physicality of breath resistance. That means that usually somewhere that's going to be down below the clavicles, right? Clavicular breathing is not very good for singing. So we're going to talk about something that is much more thoracic or even diaphragmatic or abdominal. We're talking about breathing that is going to be low. And when you start singing, you can feel this sensation of the moment you start creating a pitch of this feeling of connection to that breath. Often people will find that there's like a little bit of pressure right around their diaphragm, or maybe they actually feel like there's some pressure down in the pelvic floor. It's this feeling of being connected or hooked to the breath. And when he sings, every time he starts a line, it sounds like he's just really attached to this low support, partly because I hear that steady stream of energy that is so, so consistent. Let's go back one more time.
And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone.
Oh my gosh, what a hair flip. Which brings me to one of the things that I feel is going to be hopefully a defining difference between Whitesnake and the White Stripes. I had no idea that this song was that old. I've heard that Here I Go Again. I've heard it somewhere, movie, radio, I'm not sure. Somewhere I've heard that line because it's super, super sticky. I don't recognize the rest of the song. But that being said, I thought that was a really modern song. Like, I don't know. It never struck me as something from the 80s. It's so strange to me. Okay, so this is an 80s song because hair, outfits, everything. It's like the whole shebang. Okay, got it. Whitesnake has got like a definitive 80s statement going on. And this song is incredible because it has survived the tests of time to make me think that it was much, much more modern.
Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. But here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go again.
Oh my gosh.
Here I go.
Wow. Ooh, that was a killer high note. Ooh, I don't even know which register he delivered that high note in. That was stellar. It was powerful. It was clean. It was super clear. Oh, nice. But before that even started, I was just enjoying this feeling of like inner resistance, thinking more and more about how his voice might feel to himself, how he's developed his technique. And there's there's often a saying that you shouldn't give 100% every performance. I love this idea of a vocal budget because if you are always giving 100%, you're going to wear your voice out. And often it can be really, really useful to think about having like a little bit of resistance inside of the vocal track. This feeling of maybe singing like a little bit. I used to say innig, meaning inward. And if you think about singing inward, that can help go against the tendency of many singers to push the sound. I hear him with this slight resistance, this feeling of like going inward with the sound quite frequently. And it makes me think that he has got an amazing capability of budgeting his voice so that big moments like this are just so incredible.
Wasting no more time, but here I go again.
Yeah, it feels so attached, so connected,
Here I go
lined up,
again.
and it's not pushy at all.
Here I go again.
I love that.
Here I go.
He flipped, I think. Oh, it was like such a melodic guitar solo, and then it had the very, very fast show off moment just for a little bit. I love the way that it had the same epic scope that the song seems to have. One more time there.
Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams.
Side note, it looks like this is set on a raked stage. So you see the part of the stage, it's sort of slanted downwards like this. Singing opera in heels on a raked stage is one of the most difficult things to do. I just got to tell you, I've done it several times, and heels that are really high along with the stages already putting you higher, it just makes the whole posture go out of whack, especially the pelvis, and then getting your support all the way down to your pelvis for singing opera is really, really tough then, and it also makes you super, super sore. Anyhow, it's one of the things that I hate the most is performing on raked stages, but just to the singing part. It looks like the drums might actually be flat.
The lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own.
It's just weird.
Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. And here
I don't understand why it's still here I go again on my own when they're always together going somewhere in the car. It's just like, wait a second. As a person feeling independence while being in the relationship, I'm not sure. But I will admit that part is a little bit confusing to me. But they look like they're having a good time.
I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time.
Look at those green shoes. Dorothy, but green.
Going down the only road I've ever known.
I have to admit, I've never seen that mic technique before.
And here I go again on my own. Going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. 'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams.
is so beautifully gathered in the voice on top. Uh, when I say gathered, I'm thinking about the way that the sound really focuses, the way it feels when it's coming out of the face, coming out of the vocal tract in some way. Uh, there's there's this idea of gathered versus spread, especially on high notes for tenors. Though this definitely applies to sopranos as well, um, or really any person that's singing a high note. When it goes higher, there can be a tendency here for there to be more escapage of air that it might feel like it's starting to kind of fray apart, or even in here, there can feel like a loss of control. And so the sound, the resonance starts to feel a little more dissipated. It doesn't have the focus on it. So for really good technique, you want to have this feeling of gathering the sound and continuing it through that same focus point you've had on a lower note. He does that so well here.
Walk on an orange street of dreams.
Wow.
To walk on an orange street of dreams. And here I go again on my own.
I'm just so glad that they're repeating this chorus so many times because it's so sticky and so good. Oh my god, I didn't catch the lick on the guitar and the lick on the lick. Oh my goodness, so much licking. Earwax before too. Oh, wow.
An orange street of dreams. And here I go again on my own. Going down the only
Fade out?
road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone.
Woo! Holy crap. I have a feeling we are going to listen to way more David Coverdale and Whitesnake. But first, I need to understand how this band is different from the White Stripes. So come with me over here. We're going to check out the White Stripes in the video that's premiering right after this one. I hope to see you there.